we all have a tremendous capacity to experience joy in the way that we live, to be at peace with ourselves and with the events in our lives, to experience love, and to know our connectedness, right, with the world, to feel a part of the world. And one way or another, I think we're all kind of seeking that experience. And probably we seek it in all kinds of ways, according to the ideas we have about what will make us happy, or what will make love possible, or what will be considered enjoyment of life. There are so many ways of pursuing those goals that end up being empty and create suffering. It's possible, we've kind of spoken about the spiritual path, it's possible to find a teacher, a teaching, a path that makes those experiences truly possible, not in a kind of temporary way that comes and goes, but in a lasting way. Because our ways of seeing ourselves and understanding our world are so deeply embedded in us, it's important to find a practice, a set of teachings that we can commit ourselves to on a long-term basis, on a regular basis. Unfortunately, I guess we've become used to smaller kinds of joy, smaller kinds of enjoyment as satisfactory or as enough. That we don't realize maybe the potential for much more than that until we suffer enough. Our teacher used to say, if someone's not interested in the spiritual path, there's no need to convince them or to try to persuade them somehow that they should be interested. That when they suffer, they'll become interested. And if they're not suffering, then probably they're doing something right, and probably they're having their own spiritual path in some way we may not recognize. Maybe I'm kind of wandering around a little bit, but I'll tell a little story that my teacher told that I think of when I talk about this. He told of in a kingdom, imagine a kingdom somewhere in some land, where at one point, through looking at the family tree of this royal family, it was discovered that there was another family member living in a nearby village in the area of this kingdom who was unknown to be a part of the royal family. So this person was, messengers were sent, and this person was invited to come take his place, his birthright, as a member of the royal family, as a member of the family that ruled the whole kingdom. And then on the way there, this person traveled through many places he'd never been to before and saw many new things. And at one point in a certain village there was a carnival, and the carnival had so many bright lights and sideshows and music and all these different experiences that he'd never seen before. And he stopped there and he got fascinated with that carnival, and he ended up spending more and more time enjoying all these new sights and sounds and these kind of stimulating experiences. So you get the idea that the person is sidetracked by something that's new and interesting and has engaged his attention. But in fact, there's something much bigger, much more important that's awaiting him nearby, that's within his grasp. And in fact, even the carnival, in a way you could say, is his own property as a part of the kingdom. The fascination, the kind of inability to see that bigger picture prevents the conviction to keep staying on the path to the ultimate birthright. I think our lives are often like that. So I guess essentially, if I boil it down a little more, we have this tremendous potential to experience life in a beautiful way. And there are so many practices that can open the door to that experience of life. I think it's important that anyone find some form of practice that helps them disengage from an old way of defining themselves and the world, from a kind of identity that they formed for themselves and in a way imprisoned themselves in. Right? The whole idea of defining oneself, right, limits the capacity, limits the ability to experience peace or happiness. So a spiritual practice has the potential to help you experience life outside of that definition by temporarily disengaging yourself from the whole storyline about who you are. This is what meditation practice will do. Or it's not only meditation, a prayer life, a devotional practice, any kind of practice where you can give yourself wholeheartedly in some direction in the present moment has disengaged you from the whole storyline of your past about who you are, the definitions that you've set up, and the boundaries that you've created, the armor that you've placed around your heart. When you disengage from that, you're free, even if it's just temporarily. You're free to experience things in a different way. So I think it's important that a person find the practice that they can invest their energy into on a regular basis over a long period of time. And of course, not just a spiritual practice that's done once a day or twice a day, but a spiritual practice that's accompanied by an integration in some way of that practice into the daily life. So that it's not just something that you do part-time here and there. Even a little practice on a daily basis is useful, no doubt, but even that may not be enough to override the messages that one dwells in the rest of the day. That's where a more integrated or comprehensive approach becomes important, so that your practice isn't just something that you do for a small amount of time, but that practice somehow, the teachings behind that practice or that accompany that practice can be lived in the way that you work, in the relationships that you have, in the time that you spend commuting or socializing. So I guess that's something I would encourage everyone on the spiritual path to find a tradition, a practice, a set of teachings that are comprehensive in nature, that can engage them in a very full way, that can help them without being judgmental, without being harsh or forceful, that can help them step by step by step remind themselves again and again of the truth. Because then it's possible. Then it's possible to make tremendous change where it may not seem possible It happens step by step. The analogy I always think of with this is when you stand at the bottom of a great mountain, it's difficult to envision what it will be like to be at the top of the mountain. And it only happens one step at a time. The spiritual path is much like that, except that sometimes the steps are kind of slow. You're not running up the mountain. I guess that's similar. You can't run up the mountain. And when you go up a mountain, the path isn't straight. Especially where the mountain is steep, the path goes this way, then it goes that way, then it goes this way. And it looks like you're going a lot of the wrong direction most of the time. Right? Never does it look like you're going to the top when you're going that way, or you're going that way. That's where some faith is needed. And I guess carefully choosing the path. Choosing a path that's been walked before.